was a mistake. The mistake was that it has a 6-year sunset clause set to expire at the end of this year. This was added at the insistence of the top. We refused to put the measure on the ballot unless it had an expiration date. Ostensibly, this was so the council could make structural improvements to its budget, finding new sources of revenue, and are reducing costs in a way that did not negatively affect resident services. This was supposed to buy yourself time to do the right thing. But what happened over the past 6 years? I don't attend meetings in person, but I do watch every city council meeting on YouTube. Don't see. And while I put the past 6 years, there's not needing a code of ethics, there's nothing higher. Between council members or nepotism, baseless personal attacks being allowed to go unchecked because they were sitting in meetings and the city attorney didn't care for you. Kind of each other, shaking crocodile tears and things to go the other way. And endless session of so many hours spent discussing this month. We'll be on the design. We'll improve the design. So wait for it. We're going to put widely design and accurate. We'll improve. This money has truly become a the shells of our city. I can want to listen to this conversation. Actual proposals to fix the financial situation in the city. Maybe you're like near playing your fiddle while on birds. But your fiddle is a distraction of the monument. And what that's what we're already. And now you want to represent us in Sacramento based on what this needs to do with it. Why on earth would your 16 years in this county not push that? You're like decades, shoving chairs around all the tight together. Ignoring that will hear us. Just hoping that they know that you're not doing anything. 3, you want to be the next mayor of a city on the first class. No, nothing has been done to improve the financial well-being over the past 6 years. A replacement revenue source for the lost tax revenue was never identified. The place where as large as it is, in fact, during recent sessions, the council direction Southwest maintained the tax load, even though they knew that the revenue that paid for the tax load was there. Now, some would argue that this is precisely why the tax should be left to expire. Clearly, you can't trust politicians to do the right thing. In fact, nothing has been done in 6 years is proof that politicians can't be trusted. Larry, the real lesson here is that city leadership. The new city council made up of residents. Yes, no residents of Westminster. Not people around the measure parts or see. People who just hockey game like we back up through action. Real, impactful action. I truly hope you guys do the right thing and people's aspirations decide. Let the voters of the city decide our favors. Let us vote. And if we're Christians play well, don't sit down.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. I'm Lauren Piper. I'm the Westminster Westminster. I'm here this evening to ask that you give me and all the residents of Westminster the right to vote in November's election on whether to extend the existing city and sales tax. I've been a member of the Measure as Oversight Committee for the past 5 years. Aaron and the staff have explained how the funds of these measures have been used. For example, they have allowed for the hiring of more police officers, as well as for the police liaison. They've allowed for hiring of more staff in the city that we're They allowed hiring of parking enforcement to ticket illegally parked cars and hire violations to give police officers the opportunity to take a decision. They've allowed for the hiring of more children and run, play, our families can enjoy the outdoor time with family. It's also allowed for paying pensions and other financial obligations, but most importantly, it has been able to keep the lights on in our city. I am not here to tell you about the city's finances or potential bankruptcy. I attended the special meeting in June where the city manager and finance app showed all of us the budget and projections for the next 3 years. You know the state of the city's finances. I am not here to tell you, to remind you of the corruption and mismanagement of the city's finances over the years. We all have seen and heard how you paid or not paid for things. We all have seen your unethical practices regarding nepotism and not living within city boundaries. Councilmember Doe, he's been very vocal and for many, many sessions talking about the other unethical practices among current and past council members. I am not here to discuss how police officers are leaving for better paying jobs. You have seen the increasing vacancy numbers. I don't need to explain that to you. I am not here to discuss the impact of fewer parking enforcements and landscaping staff. We all have seen the grass in our parks growing taller and taller before they are even mowed. No, that is not why I am here. I am here to ask you to give myself, my son who's voting for the first time in November, my husband, my neighbors, all of us here, the residents of Westminster, the opportunity, the right, the same right to be able to decide and to vote what we're going to be doing, to give us the right, to grant us our right, our constitutional right to vote for changes in our own city. You may not want to extend the taxes, the city and sales tax, and that's your right. You don't have to. You don't have to vote for it. That's your right. You have that opportunity to do that. But currently and at this moment, you also have the power to deny us, to take our rights away, to take away from us, the residents of the city, the right to be able to decide how we want to spend our money. You are taking away the right to decide whether we want to extend the sales tax or we don't want to extend the sales tax. You are denying our constitutional right to decide how we want to use our money. You are taking away all eligible voters of Westminster the right to vote to extend the existing city and sales tax. You are denying us the ability to vote, to hire more police officers. You are denying us the right to have our parks mowed regularly. You are denying us our rights to have streets cleared from parking violations and for cleaning our streets as well. You are denying us our rights to make a decision whether we want to keep our lights on. All we're asking is that you give us the same rights and the same power that you have granted yourselves for us to be able to vote and make that decision. So I am asking you to help us, allow us, to give us our democratic right to be able to decide how we want to live and where we want to live. And if we want to continue to live in the city of Westminster, if we decide that we no longer want Westminster, that is our right and our choice, and we want you to give us that right. And honestly, at this point, regardless of the corruption, regardless of everything that's going on, we just want to keep our lights on, and I think we have a right to make that decision. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Mary Boyd, and I'm speaking here tonight to hopefully encourage you to vote in favor of placing the SS measure on the ballot for the people to decide. I've been working in the public works yard for the last 5 years. I took an early retirement package after 25 years working in a regulated company that in my last 5 years went through too many layoffs to count. I am so grateful to have this position in the same city that I've resided and voted in for 30 years. Previously, as many current residents of Westminster seem to be, I wasn't that involved nor even knowledgeable of the city I reside in. What I do know is that working for Public Works has provided me with the knowledge of how dedicated and how hardworking the employees of this city are. I talk to many residents every day and try to resolve each and every issue for them, or I direct them to where they can connect with to get their issues resolved. working 5 years ago for Public Works. They've been on a limited staff. They've been tight with funding, but they've done an outstanding job of handling the water issues, the potholes, the street problems, the park issues, everything that's thrown at them. If we do not allow this measure to be placed on the ballot and passed, we will not be able to keep up with the current services we provide to our residents. I have watched the past few years of the City Council meeting, and I'm asking you today, please listen to your staff, listen to the residents of Westminster. It's time to place this on the ballot and let, like everyone's been saying, the residents decide. As a resident for 30 years, I've seen a lot of changes in the city. One thing we must maintain is a strong police force and funding for public services to keep the city proud and to continue for me to be living here in this city. I was privileged. I grew up in a very influential city, and the one thing that is with cities that have influence is that they have money, and that money funds police, and it funds city services, and that keeps them running smoothly. You must, I'm urging you, you must invest in the city and the residents that live in the city. Help us to be proud of the city we work for and the city we live in. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, and City Council members. My name is Moses Castillo. I've been a resident for Westminster for almost 3 decades. And today, you consider me a community advocate. After hearing all these speakers here tonight, it's given me a greater resolve to encourage you to do the right thing. In fact, it should have given you a greater resolve to listen to your residents, your voters. A no vote will create a divide. A no vote will secure you're no longer going to be reelected. A yes vote says, I'm with the people of Westminster. I will allow them to vote. The voice will be heard because their voice matters. And I'd also like to commend Chief Lene and the Westminster Police Department. In recent weeks, months, they've won some really tough cases and removed some dangerous criminals off our streets. And I'm talking about dangerous criminals, murderers, rapists, child molesters, you name it. And many of them spoke here today, and man, I applaud them for doing that. It takes courage to face you face to face and tell you to put this measure on the ballot. So it's up to you. Are you going to unite with us, or are you going to create division? And I hope you do the right thing. Because you know what? The only way for evil to prevail is for good men and women to do nothing. And we need our police officers. They need our support. They need our funding. They need everything, because ultimately, public safety is number one. If that goes down the tubes, the city goes down the tubes. You honor them, you respect them, you support them, you advocate for them, then our city will be just okay. We'll bounce back. Our city has gone through many challenges. We will bounce back. But we need you to do the right thing and put this measure on the ballot. Thank you. Have a good night.
Next speaker is Christine Barnes, followed by Conrad Gomez, and then Kim Miller. Christine? Thank you. Conrad Gomez, followed by Kim Miller. Yes. And then we'll go Jesse after that.
Hello, City Council. I hope you're all doing well. And as you already know me, my name is Conrad Gomez, President of Vietnam Veterans America, Chapter 756, representing 6,000 Vietnam veterans in the state of California. And the first thing I've got to say, from hearing all the residents, the first and most important part of this meeting is to make you aware it is your responsibility to allow the citizens of Westminster to dictate to you, all of you, understand that here in the United States of America, one of our rights, God-given right in the Constitution, says the right to vote. You cannot change that. So if you were to change that, then why did 58,000 Americans die? Why did the 300,000 get in South Vietnamese die? Why are you allowing that to happen in your, and it's you, it's nobody else. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of you up there, or 60%. It is your responsibility to give them that right. The tax measure that the citizens vote keeps a 1% measure and show the citizens that this is a democracy, not a monarchy. Vietnam Veterans America backs the community in its right to vote and maintain the proper standards for the city of Westminster, the police department, the fire department, the paramedics, and all the workers of the city. Without them, you're nothing. You know, what are you going to do? Let's say trying to decide to call for the police department. You have the emergency, you don't need a policeman. Takes 20, 30 minutes. You need them there now. We know that something terrible can happen in a matter of 2 to 3 minutes. Some gentleman found that same thing out at one of your gas stations. You know, he's dead. I couldn't believe that. He said, in the city of Westminster, I couldn't believe that. But I don't understand why that right was taken away. That's why hundreds of thousands of veterans, both men and women, have died so all of us have the right to vote. You cannot take that away from us. And I did not want to make any mentions of the concrete issue, but since it's been brought up, I'll say that the concrete committee, as far as I'm concerned, was nothing but a joke. Why? They let me get these 2 Americans. There's 13 members. I keep saying 11. There were 2 alternates, and I was an alternate. So we had 10 Vietnamese and 1 American. Why couldn't we have 2 Americans? Whoever set up the committee set it up wrong. Why? We argued. Did we get along very well? Not really. Because we argued. They wanted to put the U.S. in the back of the bus. They even agreed. The one thing they agreed on was that if it wasn't for the U.S. military, air power, naval power, guess what? Vietnam would have fallen in 1972, possibly 1973. That's the way it is. And if you ever form any other type of committee, do not, it's just like it cars of hell. That doesn't Hispanics and 2 Vietnamese. How do you think that vote would go? It would favor the Hispanics, right? You cannot have a committee and set up 2 Americans, Bob Harrison and myself, for failure. And I mentioned that to you, Kyle, and you questioned me on that. So I am a little annoyed because to me, the most important part of this meeting right now is the police department, the fire department, and the city staff. Without them, you are nothing. Some of you might say, some of you are leaving. But without them, this community deserves the police department, and you have no idea of what a policeman has to go through. Or a fireman, a nurse, a paramedic, even the city staff, all the things they do for you. You must do the right thing, and you have no choice. You work for them. They don't work for you. They voted you in, and they trust you. So, this issue of palm tree monument, you have a free spot at the Westminster Memorial Park. That's it.
Mayor Tom, Vice Mayor, Council members. My name is Kathy Miller, and I've been a resident of this city for 58 years. My heart's beating. Public speaking is like I'm freaking out, but it's too important not to speak up. When I woke up this morning, I did not wake up in a communist state. I woke up in a democracy. or have the privilege and honor of voting. And yet some of you would deny me that right, and would deny that right to the residents of this city. And I don't understand it. And I've tried and looked for explanations, and I've come up with none. Mayor Todd, apparently there was a measure recently about whether or not the mayor should be an appointed position or a position that's voted for. And I have to applaud you, because my understanding was that you urged the residents of this city not to give up their right to vote. And I don't understand why this is any different. That was your stance now, but yet you're not supporting my right to vote. There have been people that have made accusations against council members that possibly the answer might be that you've got political interests or other jobs that you're looking for, and supporting the tax measure or raising taxes would hinder your fundraising ability or might make it difficult for you to run for a position. But I know that can't be true. You can't be that villainous that you would put your own personal interests above the citizens, the residents of this city that you're sworn to represent. So I beg and urge you, for those of you that are either abstaining or voting no, to reconsider and allow both me and the residents of this city the rights that we deserve. Allow us to make our own decision to vote on this measure. Thank you.
Bessie? Conrad?
Good evening, dear distinguished members of the City Council and the City staff. The Guang Chi Monument Committee was formed this year by the Westminster City Council to help depict, construct, and fundraise for the monument. It was composed mostly of veterans, both South Vietnamese and Americans, and a few community leaders. We have convened at many meetings and have exhausted powers to reach agreement among our members. On June 29th, the committee has voted on the logo of the monument as witnessed by two city officials here. However, 2 weeks later, the City Council overruled our decision in favor of a few vocal people here. These people who spoke the loudest, they had the least understanding of the battle. The purpose of some people here is clearly to disrupt and delay the construction of our monument. Unfortunately, they have convinced some of our committee members to pass along information in our private emails so that they can attack us at a city meeting. Some of our committee members were our friends, they shook our hands, but later they colluded with the other side to make petty demands, to give wrong depiction, and to pick an unfavorable location for the monument. The logos of the two American helicopter squadrons are redundant. These small units belong under the U.S. Army and U.S. Marine logo, which are already on the monument. For fairness, the South Vietnamese have 4 helicopter squadrons involved, but we never demanded them because they belong under the South Vietnamese Air Force logo. The Special Operation logo, the one with the skull, is an unofficial logo. It is neither accepted by the U.S. military nor the U.S. government. But yet, the City Council listened to the few here and wanted us to put that unofficial logo on the monument. Did these people even do their history homework? The Guang Chi Monument should be at an easily accessible public park where people can take their families to visit. It should not be at any private land where the access is restricted. It should not be at any place where there will be more delays of construction, which would possibly derail the whole project. The Guang Chi Monument Committee is disappointed that our votes were not counted, and instead the city listened to the few here. Just because our skin color is different doesn't mean we're less American. Just because our skin color is different doesn't mean our votes are not countable. For years, the liberal media has sought to portray the Vietnam War as an Americanized war, fought mainly by Americans, and the South Vietnamese were relegated to secondary soldiers. They portrayed the South Vietnamese as incompetent, and the war was unwinnable because without Americans' involvement was unwinnable, and that was exactly what the communists have always wanted in their propaganda. The whole purpose of this Quang Chi monument was to change all that sentiment. Yes, America did help South Vietnam in the air, but the final credit of victory goes to the individual South Vietnamese soldiers who fought on the ground. It is an universal theme among the revisionist historians. The Quang Chi battle epitomized Vietnamization, the successful transfer of American military might to the South Vietnamese so they can defend themselves. Give the South Vietnamese their grand victory so that Americans can withdraw with peace and honor. That was the whole goal of the Nixon administration. Let us think about this. If Congress had not cut aid and Vietnamization was allowed to succeed, the war would not have been lost. America would be celebrating its veterans, and China would not be a threat like they are today. Depicting the Quang Chi monument any other way is going back to the early Americanization of the war. It is travesty of history, and it disrespects all veterans who have fought for the right cause of the war, which was to defend South Vietnam and build us strong to fight the communists. Please, let us build the Quang Chi monument the right way and put it in a respectable place. Thank you.
Michael Tooley. Michael Tooley, followed by Matt Tooley.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council members. My name is Mike Tilsley. I live in Benton Avenue, Westminster. I come around here tonight, you know, I came the last meeting, we talked about the homeless problem and the help I was going to receive. Well, we had a neighbourhood meeting last night, and Vice Mayor was there. Thank you, Mr. Hunter. Great job. I even had the Chief of Police came. We had Commander McCormick, Sergeant Adam. We had the city manager, city was there, and the assistant city manager. So I thank you all for coming. The neighbourhood really appreciate it. I got a bunch of calls today, and people knocked my door thanking for the support that they received. I got a message from Sergeant Allen today. He emailed me telling me that they contacted the land management there, the long wall, and if they don't start getting the wall fixed in the next week, they've been cited, and they're going to start fining them, giving them daily fines until it's fixed, which I think is a great idea. Now, and that was the main reason I came here tonight, to thank the Chief of Police for taking the time to come see us all. We have a great police department. There's no two ways about it. We are looking at, and I've heard all the stories tonight, I've heard all the people, I've heard all about the monuments. Oh, by the way, how's my castle coming? How we started the castle? Remember they asked me for the castle? That's what I was saying. Carlos, how's my castle coming? Okay. Just so you know, but silliness aside, the most important thing is that this one, everybody's talking about it. You guys know. Now, just a little bit about me. Before I retired last year, I was an executive. I ran many multi-million-dollar companies. They would hire me to go in, fix the company that was failing or faulted, make it profitable, and move on to the next one. They give you a pile of money, and that's how I've done what I've done for the last 20 years. Looking at this tonight, what I saw, we wasted the first 20 minutes of this meeting over one motion. You wasted 20 minutes over one motion that could have been resolved very quickly, but it just shows the incompetence up on that table, on the DS, I should say. It just shows the incompetence. If either one of you would have done that in one of our meetings, when I ran companies, I would have called you to my office and I would have fired you in a heartbeat. I have an idea how to fix this. Let's put the police department in charge of the city. They're way more competent than us. I saw the televised version of meeting 2 meetings ago when Mr. Manzo asked you to vote on where this monument should go and not go. You are the mayor of this town, this city. You should have made the decision and vote yea or nay. If you're a leader like I was, you make a decision. If it's a great decision, you take the credit, pat yourself on the back. If it's a bad decision, you fall on your sword. That's part of being a leader. And the chief of police. My point is, you asked Carlos said, well, that's going to cost money to hand it down to the committee. You wanted the committee to make the decision. Well, if the committee makes a decision, what do we need you lot for? Makes no sense to me. And then you asked the city manager what it would cost, and she gave you a ballpark figure of $20,000, which was probably lowballing it. Now, we've got no money in this city. How can you just waste another 20 grand? To be honest, you should step down tonight. If you're already on it, you should step down tonight as mayor of the city. You should follow him. Right behind him. If you don't think any of you will be the next mayor, you're on drugs. There's no way you'll ever be mayor of this city. I'll make sure of that. Because you got me involved now. You know that 10 they're talking about? I'm going to be number 1. That's how I roll. So just to let you know, once again, thank you, Westminster PD, for all the support.
Matt Stewart? Chauncey Winnie?
Trần Thị Nguyên Lễ.
Chào quý vị có mặt ở đây hôm nay.
Good evening to everyone who are here today.
Ủy viên thành phố, ủy viên Nguyễn Mạnh Trí,
Good evening, Mayor Todd, Vice Mayor Bianco, City Councilman Joel, City Councilman Joel, and
trận tái chiếm thành Quảng Trị năm 1972 là một trận chiến nổi tiếng khắp thế giới theo dõi, không những cho toàn dân quân miền Nam cũng để vinh danh quân đội đồng minh, những chiến binh của quân đội Hoa Kỳ đã tham gia trận đánh tái chiếm của thành Quảng Trị. Có hàng trăm phi vụ của quân đội đồng minh Hoa Kỳ đã thả bom và thả những quân nhân nhảy dù xuống để hiệp trợ trận đánh của thành Quảng Trị, và hải pháo của quân đội Hoa Kỳ đã giúp nên đã tái chiến thắng của thành Quảng Trị ngày 16 tháng 9 năm 1972. Sự hy sinh của quân đội đồng minh Hoa Kỳ và quân lực Việt Nam Cộng Hòa đã đổ xương máu cho trận này, thì cần phải được đặt tượng đài một nơi trang nghiêm, an ninh và có nhiều du khách tìm đến chiêm ngưỡng như phi lâm Pháp để nhớ về lịch sử của trận đánh năm nào. Cảm ơn quý vị đã lắng nghe. Kính chào quý vị. Tôi là cựu thiếu tá Trần Thị Như, hiệu trưởng phòng xã hội sư đoàn tiêu chí.
The battle to retake the ancient city of Montreal in 1972 is a battle that is known around the world. Not only that the army of the Republic of Vietnam participated in battle, the battle was also fought by our U.S. ally. There were 100 ammunition by our U.S. ally, as well as naval artillery. Our U.S. ally have dropped bombs, as well as there are troopers to come and join and participate in the fight to protect the ancient city of Montreal. And because of the support from our U.S. ally, as well as the fight, the courageous fight by the South Vietnamese army, we were able to retake the ancient citadel on September 16, 1972. The sacrifice that was made by the South Vietnamese army, as well as our U.S. ally, deserve a place, so that the sacrifice will be honored, and that place should be a place of solemn. The monument needs to be placed at a place that is solemn, that is safe, and that would attract a lot of tourists, such as Freedom Park. So thank you for listening. Former Marine Lieutenant Colonel Lee.
Let's include my man, followed by the overview. And my man, I'm the overview.
Good evening, Council. Camilla Overby, President of Westminster. First, thank you, Local, for hearing me and my concerns earlier today about the traffic and safety issues in my neighborhood. I do look forward to picking up where we left off prior to COVID. Unfortunately, I am fully aware that the only way we will be able to make it happen is if this council votes to place Measure SS on the ballot. My grandparents purchased their home, now my home, here in Westminster in 1962. I was born at Westminster Hospital nearly 2 decades later. 8 years ago, my grandmother died in that same hospital, 4 days before my 35th birthday. A year and a half later, I held my grandfather's hand as he took his last breath in my family room. The family room he built with his own hands in the house he and my grandmother bought all those years ago. Much of my childhood and adult life has been right here in Westminster. I lived in Texas, I lived in Florida, and other cities here in California, but I've always managed to find my way back to my first home. I now face hard choices that include having to sell my home and leave behind the history and the memories my family have here. All of these choices hinge on what this council chooses to do tonight with Measure SS. Time and time again, residents have stood before this council begging and pleading for this council to allow the voters the right to vote. While many of you are behaving as though this city is under authoritarian rule, let me remind you, it is not. We are a democratic republic. The people govern the people, and you are here merely to represent us. This shouldn't even be a debate. You should have opted to place Measure SS on the ballot the moment the word bankruptcy was uttered. I urge you all to make your personal opinions towards Measure SS known on your own personal ballot. All we want is for this council to let us vote. 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 Let us vote.
Is mine ready? Mine or me nữa?
May Nguyễn hay là May Nguyễn? May Nguyễn. May has already invested.
Next up is Tony Green, followed by Norman Tony, followed by
Người kế tiếp là Tony Bùi, sau đó là Nguyễn Hùng hay là Nguyễn Hưng, rồi Nguyễn Quỳnh Quang. Nguyễn Hùng hay là Nguyễn Hưng, Tony Bùi trước nhất.
Good evening, Mayor, and good evening, City Council members. And also good evening to all the officers and police officers too. You have been working hard to keep the meeting in order. And we just heard people ask for, let us vote. That means you cannot stop the people from voting for their rights. Last time, some people, especially Kimberly Ho and Ido, bring the issue of Member C to stop the people from voting for mayor. But then they not succeed. They failed. And it cost the city $300,000 or $400,000. That's a big debt into our budget. That is why we are in the brink of bankruptcy. See? You are talking about bankruptcy, but you don't know who is the culprit who make the hole in our budget. So that is Kimberly Ho. She said she's run away. I hope she will be here to hear my my complaining. I am the one who signed signature to endorse her to run for city council 4 years ago. But then I was frustrated because he did not follow the rules of our city council. And also, you know, the Quảng Trị monument issue has been dragging for 4 or 5 years. All of you, 5 of you, including her, already approved the Quảng Trị monument number 1. And then, when they are about to install, 3 of you, Taito, Menzo, and Kimliko, stop it completely, and you make the decision that no more monument in Freedom Park. That is why you take the blame for dragging the problems. People want to put the Quảng Trị monument there, and now you make the decision, already no monument there, and then you want to reverse it. This is not a game for the children to play. Sometimes you say yes, and then next time you say no, and then the next other day you say, okay, that's really bad for our city. It's dragging, and make the big holes in our city budget. That is why some of the people call Kipling holes is Kipling holes, because they make big holes in our budget. This is Kipling holes. So please, you should know the real problems of our city. And also, rescue hole. You hide it from me? Too bad. Some hole already called horrible decision. And horrid policy. Horrible. That means changing, and keep changing. Kimberly, I would like to talk to you directly here. Don't hide in the outside there. Because when I support Hope, I thought that she will bring hope to the city. But actually, she brings horrible decisions. She makes big holes to our budget. $300,000 for Measure C, which was advocated by Kimberly Hope. So that's why, Kimberly, your name is L. Lee, that means life. But you follow the wrong route, and L becomes lies. L becomes lust for power. L becomes leeches. See, those are her problems. And mental, your name, man for zero act. You know zero is a hero. But if you follow the wrong direction, you will be man with zero dignity. So everything depends on you. And Mr. Taito, your name Tai is talent. But you follow the wrong direction, it will be terrible disaster. Tai. That's it. That's what I want to say. Thank you.
Lời nói đầu tiên của tôi tên là Nguyễn Thị Quỳnh Hoa, người con của dân Quảng Trị.
Good evening. First of all, I'd like to say that my name is Hoa Nguyen. I am, I was from Quảng Trị.
I'm born
I was born there.
Quảng Trị. Kính thưa ông thị trưởng, phó thị trưởng, quý nghị viên và city staff. kiến của thành Quảng Trị là nơi để tri ân các chiến sĩ và dân cảm tính đã hy sinh và những người còn sống đã tham gia trận chiến. Nên phải xây dựng tên công viên thành phố chứ không phải trong nghĩa trang như Memory Park.
Your Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council members, and staff, the monument, the Pine Monument, is a monument to honor the sacrifice as well as to express our gratitude for the sacrifice that was made by the church member who lost their life, who sacrificed their life, as well as to honor those who are still participating in that battle but are still alive. And because of that, it needed to be placed at a public park and not a cemetery like West Memorial Park.
Tôi và công dân Quảng Trị xin quý vị đừng kéo dài thì giờ nữa, hãy dự quyết location ngày hôm nay. Xin chọn một công viên an toàn nhất trong thành phố. Trân trọng kính chào quý vị.
I, along with the people of the city of Pine Creek, are asking you not to drag this on. Please, let's vote on the location. Please use the safest public park in the city for this monument. Respectfully, thank you.
Next speaker is Freeland.
Cái chức năng điều lại.
I, Mayor Carlos Rizzo, Councilman Ido, Councilman Charlie Lynn, Councilwoman FBLS. Tôi tên là Nguyễn Văn Đình, một công chức của tỉnh Quảng Trị, Việt Nam.
My name is Freeman Nguyen. I was a civil servant of Pine Creek Province of the Republic of Vietnam.
Chicken by the monument by the của thành Quảng Trị.
I would like to talk about the monument of the retaking of the Pine Creek Citadel.
Vì đã kéo dài thời gian thảo luận về Quảng Trị Monument qua nhiều buổi họp, làm cho mình nên đáng phiền rằng buổi họp nào cũng đem được tại Quảng Trị. Proceeding to proceed to these leading games.
We have prolonged the discussion about the Pine Creek Monument through many meetings, and this caused the residents here to complain about the monument because you have made it the subject of all the meetings all the time. So please stop playing games.
Quảng Trị Monument là nơi để tri ân các chiến sĩ đã hy sinh trong trận chiến và đồng thời cho những người còn sống và được xây dựng trong một công viên park chứ không phải một nghĩa trang như Westminster Park.
The Pine Creek Monument was a place where we could pay tribute to the sacrifice that was made in that battle, as well as to honor the survivor of that battle. And because of that, it must be built at a public park, not a memorial park like West Memorial Park.
Quảng Trị Monument sẽ là public property sau khi xây dựng trong và được xây dựng trong một public park.
Because the Pine Creek Monument will be public property after it's built, but it construction. And so because of that, it must be built or placed at a time.
Xin kéo dài thời gian nữa, hãy phút ngay hôm nay về location của monument from the public that I will get.
Please do not waste any more time. Vote it today. Hope that the monument be placed at the safest possible part.
Tôi không phải là một cử tri của Westminster, tôi ủng hộ đề nghị của các cư dân của Westminster về đưa measure and vào kỳ bầu cử tới để cử tri city Westminster quyết định.
Although I'm not a voter or citizen or a resident of the city of Westminster, I support that measure has to be placed on the ballot in the next election so that the residents of the city of Westminster would decide it.
Cảm ơn quý vị.
Thank you.
The next speaker is from Vietnamese media, followed by Jerry Smith.
So tonight's meeting is the last meeting before campaign season.
Còn 2 ngày nữa là hết hạn kinh doanh ứng cử.
There's only 2 more days before one can file paperwork to run.
Có lẽ quý vị và những đàn em tại sai của quý vị đã rút đơn và nộp đơn để tranh cử.
Perhaps you and your latchkey have taken out paper and file so that you could run for office.
Nhưng sau khi nghe người dân phát biểu và yêu cầu quý vị do the right thing, tôi không biết quý vị có biết cần phải làm gì chưa.
So now that you have heard the voice of the people for tonight, I don't know if you know what you need to do tonight.
Vì vậy, tôi nghĩ cần phải nhắc nhở quý vị về bộ phận trách nhiệm và vai trò của quý vị.
And because of that, I need to remind you of your role, your duty.
Quý vị là thành viên hội đồng thành phố, quý vị có một phần phải lo cho tương lai an ninh trật tự, môi trường, phúc lợi và tương lai của thành phố cũng như tất cả các cư dân trong thành phố, không chỉ riêng một sắc dân cộng đồng nào.
As council member, you are supposed to be concerned with the safety, the welfare of all residents of the city of Westminster and not just member of a particular community.
Vấn đề không phải là quý vị ủng hộ hay chống đối việc duy trì mức thuế ở 8.75%.
The issue is not whether you support or against the maintenance of the tax rate at 8.75%.
Quý vị không quan tâm đến chủ trương của đảng của quý vị.
You should not be concerned about the policy of your particular party or party affiliation.
Gia hạn khoản thuế phục vụ 1% là quyền quyết định của cư dân, không phải do quý vị đảng của quý vị quyết định.
The maintenance or expansion of the tax rate, the 8.75% tax rate, is the right of the people of the city, not yours.
Quý vị không có quyền cản trở người dân thực thi nghĩa vụ và quyền lợi của họ.
You have no right to be in the way of the resident of the city to exercise their right to vote.
Thị trường chí là ông là người đã gián tiếp khiến cho thành phố Westminster phải lâm vào tình trạng phá sản.
Therefore, you indirectly push or cause the city to be on the verge of bankruptcy.
Nếu không duy trì mức thuế hiện nay, Westminster sẽ phải phá sản và sẽ bị giải thể.
If the current tax rate is not maintained, the city would be in bankruptcy and it might have to be dissolved.
Nếu ông nghĩ rằng không cần gia hạn 1% thuế sales tax phụ thu, tại sao ông không tìm cách giúp cho tình trạng kinh tế của Westminster tăng trưởng trong suốt 20 năm ông ngồi trong hội đồng thành phố?
And if you think to maintain this 1% tax increase in the tax rate is not necessary, then what have you done for the economic or financial health and well-being of the city over the last 20 years that you are on the city council?
Bao lâu nay ông không thông báo cho một người Việt Nam biết về tình trạng tài chính của Westminster, ông Nguyễn Dân, việc nuôi mộ để chứng kiến.
So all this time you have not informed the Vietnamese residents of the city of Westminster about the financial well-being of the city. You are full of that one on them. You build monuments so that you could get vote from them.
Cho đến giờ này, ông vẫn chưa trình bày hết sự thật cho người Việt Nam, không hề có một chút cố gắng hoặc kế hoạch hành động gì để giải quyết tình trạng Westminster sắp bị giải thể.
Up until now, you have not informed the Vietnamese resident of the city's financial distress. You have not done anything for helping solving this problem that the city might be bankrupt or dissolved.
Ông nhớ nghiệm chuyện này, ông không trưng cầu dân ý hoặc đáp ứng nguyện vọng của cư dân.
You hiding this. You do not honor the wishes of the resident of the city.
Giống như tôi đã nghe gần 100% cư dân phát biểu trong buổi họp tối nay.
From what I heard, almost 100% of the residents who spoke up tonight support this measure as to be placed on the ballot.
Ông nhảy tàu, ông lợi dụng quan hệ và những ông bên tay sai YouTuber cũng như buồng máy thu phiếu để ra tranh cử chức dân biểu liên quan đến hạt con người.
You jump ship, you use your connection and also your latchkey YouTuber so that you could get vote to be on to get your assembly seat.
Ông Charlie Nguyễn Chí,
And now to Mr. Charlie G. Wynn.
ông ra tranh cử chức thị trưởng thành phố Westminster.
You are running for the mayor of the city of Westminster,
Nhưng ông không hề quan tâm đến nguyện vọng của cư dân.
but you have never cared about the wishes of the residents here.
Ông không dám do the right thing, làm tròn trách nhiệm của ông.
You would not dare to do the right thing to perform your duty.
Để bỏ phiếu yes thông qua dự luật SS để thành phố có thể yêu cầu ủy ban bầu cử một trang tổ chức trưng cầu dân ý trong mùa bầu cử vào tháng 11 năm nay.
You vote yes so that measure SS would be placed on the ballot by the registered voter to be voted by the residents in this upcoming election in November.
Vì mang thân phận đàn em, tại sai, ông phải cúi đầu làm theo lời chỉ tạ.
Because of you being junior, being a latchkey, so you have to bow your head and do things that feedback on you to do.
Hai ông không có quyền bỏ phiếu no hay yes. Vì như vậy là đã tức đi hai ông không có quyền bỏ phiếu no hay abstain.
The two of you don't have the right to vote no or to abstain.
Vì như vậy là tức đi cơ hội của cư dân để họ có quyền tự quyết định tương lai của họ trong mùa bầu cử này.
Because if you do that, you would be stripping the right of the resident of the city to determine decide for themselves in this upcoming election.
Giống như nãy giờ mọi người đã phát biểu,
And just like everyone who has spoken up here tonight,
để kết luận một lần nữa tôi thật xấu hổ khi có những dân sự gốc Việt như quý vị.
in conclusion, I am embarrassed to have elected officials of Vietnamese descent like you.
Chỉ lo vinh thông tiền gia kéo về kết đảng để trục lợi.
Who just want to benefit yourself and your faction.
Nhưng quý vị không chỉ tha hóa, phải tận tốn lương tâm làm cho gia đình phải mang tiếng.
You have done things that are unconscionable, and that one shame not only upon yourself but your family.
Quý vị khiến cho tôi phải xấu hổ, khiến cho cư dân các cộng đồng khác phải bất bình, phẫn nộ lên tiếng phản đối.
You have done things that cause me to be embarrassed, to cause members of other community to be upset so that they have to speak up.
Tôi hy vọng trong mùa bầu cử này, Tổng thư các ủng hộ giữ cho quý vị hoặc những kẻ thay sai của quý vị.
And I hope that in this upcoming election, our fellow countrymen will not vote for you for your last king.
I would rather speak before a full council. Good evening, Terry Raines, Westminster, the #1 speaker, highlighter, or headliner, I should say. We lost a very special woman on Friday, Joy Novenauer. Joy served this community tirelessly. Rest in peace, Joy. Your legacy will live on forever. Item 3.9 shows violent crime is up 62%, yet 3 council members seem hell-bent on defunding our police department. Item 5.1, how the hell does the city purchase 8 properties from the RDA successor agency without recording the deeds properly? Who was responsible for that, and who is now, and what else is going to be uncovered? Jeez. Oh my God, there were 2 Quan Monument agenda items tonight. Are you effing kidding me? Residents are so sick of hearing about this damn monument and so sick of council wasting so much time on it instead of focusing on the real priorities like our fiscal emergency and the sunset of major assets. That is what tonight's meeting is supposed to be about. Councilwoman Ho, what the F is item 5.4? I can't keep up with your flip-flopping on issues and alliances. Your friend Andrew Hill just hired former Assemblyman Van Tran, aka the godfather of Little Saigon's political mob, as his chief of staff. So you want your house-sized monument monstrosity at Westminster Park, a park dedicated to our disabled youth, and you want the Quan Chi Victory Foundation's monument at Sid Goldstein Freedom Park? Oh, hell no. You are out of your ever-loving mind, woman. Their monument is in San Jose. Their attorneys stated they don't want any part of this. The only acceptable location is Westminster Memorial Park, period. I spoke at the monthly Veterans event at Freedom Park on Sunday. Veterans will not tolerate any more monuments in Freedom Park. Vice Mayor Manzo, the sole voice of reason here, actually listened to the over 100 public comments, vehemently opposed to stealing any more of our precious park space for more monuments. The rest of you had better listen to and leave our parks alone. The most important item tonight, 5.2, putting extension of the sales tax measure on the November ballot and letting us vote on it. Residents have a fundamental right to vote on the fiscal health and future of our city. Our elected officials must not stand in the way of us exercising that right. Statistically, over 70% of likely voters will vote yes on keeping the existing 1% tax to preserve public safety and essential services per the survey. The 1.25% option should not be pursued at this time. I reached out to the city attorney and city manager about the horrible wording of the proposed measures and provided a complete rewrite of both. No response. How the hell can you leave public safety out of the major title, or the word essential in front of services, or put a dash between no and tax, but not between tax and increase? Mr. City Attorney and your consultants, this is unacceptable. Mayor Cobb, you have been on council for 16 years. 10 years as mayor, you have done nothing to improve our city's financial position. You and Charlie campaigned hard against major cities saying we must keep our right to vote for mayor, but you refused to let us vote on saving before you and carry out the people's business. And if you refuse to vote, to put a major on the ballot, we will campaign hard against you and fully support Deidre 2 Hallway for State Assembly 70. And your legacy will be bankrupting Westminster and Little Saigon. Councilman Wynn, you have been on council for 4 years. Yeah, Councilman Wynn. Yeah, Councilman Wynn. For 4 years, and also have done nothing to improve the city's finances, and now you're running for mayor. In 2020, you supported putting a measure on the ballot, and you must do so tonight. If you do not, we will campaign hard against you and make sure all the voters, especially the Vietnamese voters, who overwhelmingly support extending the taxpayers, know it's you that failed them. And Councilman Doe, I am most disappointed in you. You have lost so many supporters, including me, over your position on the Quan Chi Monument, and most importantly, your obstinate, unjustified refusal to let us vote on this thus far. You are a police officer, for God's sake, in a city with a tax rate of 10.25%. So when the hell do you want to defund our own police department? Step up and do the right thing tonight, or we will campaign hard against you in the mayor race and make sure the voters, all the voters of this city, know that it was you that failed them and this city. You know what? I don't give a shit how any of you on this council irresponsibly vote. If you irresponsibly vote no at the ballot box, I don't really care. But tonight, the 5 of you must let us vote. 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 Let us vote.
Okay, now we'll move over to our Zoom speakers, and we did have a couple of early requests. Councilman, you may unmute yourself on Zoom and begin speaking.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Hello. First of all, I want to say congratulations to Christine for the city manager. Secondly, I would like to let us as a taxpayer request to put tax measure on the November 8, 2022. I stand for measure SF, don't defund the police. I believe every Washington resident in this room do receive a letter like I have on my hand. Is that from Washington Police Officer Association? The minimum you may be donated is $50 up to $1,000 for VIP. So let's do it to show you support police. We need to keep a police in Westminster, and that is my two things to say before. Now I go to my speech, and everybody received my letter already, so they know what I'm going to talk about. So did you agree to let me talking about this one, because the item is not in agenda? Nobody said anything, so to Honorable Mayor, Honorable City Council Member, Honorable City Manager and City Lawyer, through New County ROV, Attention Honorable Rock Walker, Attorney General California, and District Attorney Todd Speaker, Orange County. This subject I already made a complaint on 2018, and Mr. Nam Quan Nguyen were removed from Traffic Commissioner in City Washington.
Now I heard he's going to voting on November as the council member of District 4. So today I opposition to Mr. Nakwan about lack of moral character and violation of the Resolution 4953. Ladies and gentlemen, I say below a home man as a Westminster. Currently, I am an editor-in-chief on an online website and YouTube system under the name KBC Taiwan Media Services. Today, I am writing a comment about events related to candidate District 4 Westminster, not one way. Mr. Nakwan will have serious violate Resolution 4953 of the City of Westminster through the event on November 9, 2019 and deliberately consider the non-declaration to continue to accept the position of Traffic Commissioner and submit its application as well with it violation of the criminal law of California and the United States. Number one, request Mayor Sita to immediately fire the city staff traffic commissioner named Nakwan Win. This one Sita already did. Thank you very much. Number two, withdraw Mayor support from Mr. Nakwan Win as the supervisor and will do this the day after the meeting of the Socialist Republican of Vietnam broken out in the past week in 2018. Number three, require the city council register on both the Orange County District Attorney and California Attorney General to check the past history of a candidate, not one lawyer. As far as I know, who have had a bad achievement and many criminal violations. He will track with the enlistment of lack of California State has
I'm sorry, the speaking about the election cabinet.
a court with training order
City Attorney,
on April 2000.
this time's up anyways.
The next speaker is Robert Harrison. You may unmute yourself and begin.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Overwhelmed, inspired by the citizens of Westminster speaking on Measure SS. City Council, listen. Another no-brainer. Put it on the ballot. Now it's wandering on. The last City Council meeting, when talking about placing the wandering monument, only one on the council saw all sides, felt everyone's pain, and spoke logically with intelligence. That person was not concerned with his or her political survival and voting base, showed comprehension, a general interest in all citizens of the city of Westminster, based upon all public comment made to the city council, our commission, and the Quandary Committee. That was Vice Mayor Carlos Manzo. He was the only one looking out for what is best for the city of Westminster. There's no need for financial costs, legal liability, repairs, replacements, vandalism, personal damage, lawsuits, burden on the Westminster Police Department. Let's talk about fake news. It has been said that by the Quandary Committee that placing the Quandary Monument in Westminster Memorial Park, a cemetery for the dead, was culturally wrong for the deaf people. This is fake news, was to aim the council towards placing the Quandary Monument in Freedom Park and subsequently Westminster Park. So many Vietnamese have presented the fakeness of these claims. The Quandary Monument belongs in Westminster Memorial Park. All souls all spirits, including both people monument, the 81 airborne grave marker, should be memorialized with the addition of the Quandary monument souls that paid the ultimate price. The Parks and Recreation Commission concluded no public parks because the people spoke. The city council must listen. The Quandary Committee actually voted on Westminster Park, which is around the corner from Kenny Hong, the co-chair's home. Did you know this? Before the monstrous size of the Quandary Monument was more fully known, and the citizens of Westminster spoke against placement on public land. It is obvious the only speakers for Freedom Park and Westminster Park are the deputies, committee members, and their spouses. Tony Bowie spoke with standing ovations at the last city council meeting how America should be cherished and respected. This is America. No small special interest group should be changing the landscape of Westminster with an overwhelming war memorial and a family community park. Since coming to America as refugees, the Vietnamese people have made America better for their just being here. But the politics of Westminster City Council are eroding this image. Toss out the claims that people are communist, racist, smearing each other with the threat of recall if someone has a different opinion from you. We talked about the Quandary members needing code of ethics, which is exemplified by the outburst during the 2 prior city council meetings against those who had opinions different from theirs, and the email being sent with concluding F off from the forceful Quandary committee member that just spoke. Perhaps the city council should retake the code of ethics with these communist, racist, and weak-wrong ways. Kimberly, you've worked together with your small group of Quandary committee cohorts, have lied about your intentions, and have no right to change the landscape of the city of Westminster in the Vietnamese American Vietnam War Memorial at Freedom Park. You do not care about the Westminster residents and American Vietnam veterans. Westminster citizens have stepped up with the no public parks, no Freedom Park, and the email mill and the newspapers are smoking hot. Do you want their vote? Listen to the citizens. The Quandary Monument belongs on private land along Rosa or in Westminster Memorial Park. Thank you.
The next speaker is Louis. You may begin speaking. You may unmute yourself and begin to speak.
Người nghe viết tắt hiểu là ông bác Bùi xin ông hãy bật cái micro của ông Michael lên cho
So we'll come back to the speaker and audio issue. The next speaker is Claudia Silas. You may unmute yourself and begin speaking.
Good evening, buenas noches. My name is Claudia and I've been a resident of Westminster for almost 10 years. I'm here to speak on item 5.2 in favor of extending Measure SS in order to save the city of Westminster. Since our city, unfortunately, has not been able to bring in new ideas to keep our finances in check without Measure SS, we as residents essentially have to now be given the opportunity to save the city. As is, our PD is understaffed, and with the increasing crime in our city, this will affect all of us. As a parent, I can't imagine losing crossing guards at any of our school sites. Don't forget city staff and services that will slowly disappear until we are only known as a city who went bankrupt and spent over a year in resources over a monument that the majority of us don't want. Those of you on the council who have abstained or steered away from discussing Measure SS, you should be embarrassed to even contemplate not allowing your constituents a basic human right. Let us vote. Just remember, abstaining or not voting will be political suicide, and I know the majority of you care more about your political career than those you see sitting right in front of you and those of us at home. As for item 5.3, Westminster is park poor, meaning that for the size of our city and number of residents, we don't have enough parks for our community to enjoy. It also says a lot about those voting to place this house of a monument on public land, that you don't stop to think about those that benefit from open park spaces, families, especially those families living in high-density dwellings or multi-unit homes. They are the residents whom you will be affecting. Those are the families who don't have the luxury or privilege of a backyard. These are our middle to low-income families, which you have clearly, very clearly, not taken under consideration. These are the voices you do not care about. I've read the staff report. Leave the parks alone. I've met many of you and have spoken before at these meetings, and you know that I volunteer cleaning up parks within our city. Have any of you ever cleaned up Tonyman Park, formerly known as Parkwest Park? Because I have. I can tell you that it will absolutely cost the city money to keep the park clean and presentable. Money which we do not have, and money that this council has no right spending. Do not place this gigantic monument on public land. Keep your hands off our public parks. You don't own them. Lastly, I just want to say how proud I am to see our community come together. Si se puede, adelante. Thank you. Gracias.
Please unmute yourself and you may be ready.
Xin ông Bác Bùi bật cái micro của máy ông lên để phát biểu.
One last time, if you can please unmute yourself.
Lần cuối xin mời anh Bác Bùi bật cái micro của ông lên và bắt đầu phát biểu.
We are able to hear him, and there are no additional speakers on Zoom at this time. Raising your hand, so I can please follow the invitation.
Thank you. I'd like to close the public hearing and any public comments or communication. So see, next on our, we have a review of consent calendar. Next, we have our consent calendar. All matters listed on the consent calendar are considered routine and may be approved by a single motion followed by a roll call vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless members of the city council or staff request that specific items be removed from the consent calendar for separate action or discussion. Council?
I'd like to move item 2.9.
Okay. 3.9. I'll make a motion to pass all items, approve all items except item 3.9. Okay, second. I have a motion and second by Councilmember Ho.
The motion was made by Vice Mayor Monzo, seconded by Councilmember Ho, to approve the consent calendar as presented, excluding agenda item 3.9. Councilmember Jones?
Yes.
Councilmember Ho? Yes. Councilmember Nguyen?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Monzo?
Yes.
Mayor Tom?
Yes.
Ok, tức là cái phần phát biểu của cư dân là xong rồi ha. Bây giờ qua cái phần bỏ phiếu để thông qua những cái chuyện mà cần thiết trong CD thôi, cũng không có quan trọng. Bây giờ mình phải ngưng cái máy để mình check cái message.
ai xui miệt ấy ghé về thăm. Bún cá phở quyên vẫn mãi thèm, hầm rục xương cá ngọt liệm, chả cá vàng tươi ngon giòn, nước lèo bốc khói thơm ngát, tương hành chanh ớt. Chị mời em ăn tô bún cá chứa chan tình người.
Xin mời quý vị đến với phở quyên, ăn một lần lại muốn ăn thêm. Phở quyên 714 896 0928 896 0928.